This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on this podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspectives, Spiritual Truths. Tonight, we're going to continue our journey as we the people. We've been focused on a specific path, very specific, related to gaining a clear understanding regarding how our nation is structured, how it's supposed to work. There have been challenges to keep that flow impeded. However, there's been a thrust and a change is going on. This great flag behind me is a great symbol connected to our amazing nation. This seal is to remind us of the importance of praying for the president of this nation. I'm continuing to pray for the 265,900,000 Americans who were identified as living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet in 2024. I keep saying that because it's important. Some didn't make it, some couldn't hang in there, and they just checked out. They living on the streets. It's not good. I'm concerned. 78% of working Americans were living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. They're out there in the woods, struggling still. They've got a ways to go. Some are working 2, 3, 4 jobs. I know people who work 3 full-time jobs. When do you sleep, baby? Listen, I'm concerned. We got to pray for each other. 79% of Americans felt that the country was going in the wrong direction. The majority of the citizens spoke loud and clear regarding their position on what was important in this nation, the economy and illegal immigration. That's the two issues that drove the election in 2024. And a mandate was issued loud and clear. We had that election, and we, the people, spoke loud and clear and said, listen, this is what's important to us, not what a woman can do with her body, not this sexually or sexual orientation driven thing. That's not it. No. So those dynamics decided who was going to lead our country. I've repeatedly asked, who needs to be the leader of America? What is at stake? Does it matter at all who's in the White House? Well, that determination has been made. And tonight, we're going to examine something that has generated a lot of discussion in our nation. Some Americans view President Donald John Trump as someone who's racist, rude, lacks skills. My question is that the case? One thing that I love and respect is when someone can be intellectually honest. That means they're not lying. They can look at something, think it through, and just get honest and tell the truth. One person who is that way that has earned my respect is Van Jones. Although we have different values and beliefs, I respect him and his assessment regarding what happened in our nation that gave us the election results that we got that are affecting what's going on right now. And it's just a reality. According to Van Jones, who was the former Obama advisor, indicated that despite his characterization in the press, Trump is smarter than all of his critics. This is what Jones said, and I quote. He said, listen, we woke up in a body bag, giving a stunning admission about why Trump absolutely steamrolled the establishment. He's a CNN talking head. He spoke at length about the American political class failed to understand which way the wind was blowing and how it knocked them over on November 5th, 2024. Jones, like I said, he's a former Obama advisor who had several weeks to he had a lot of time to get over his election night despair. He was particularly candid, and I loved it. He was intellectually honest about how President Trump was able to electorally crush Kamala Harris and retake the White House. In spite of us them telling us she's ahead in the polls. Never believed it. It was a lie the whole time. I knew it was. God told me they were lying. He retook the White House, underscoring that Trump outsmarted his critics, particularly those in the media who misread his appeal and extra political strategy. After suggesting that the liberal political establishment is all screwed up, that's what Jones said. He said it's just all screwed up. The political establishment is screwed up and detached from the electorate and of the electorate's wants and needs. Wow, Mr. Jones, thank you for your intellectual honesty. Oh, yeah. This is what Jones said. I loved it. He said, we were so off. Jones said, listen, we weren't even reading the actual electorate at all. And he gave some examples. He said, we were using completely outdated terms, modes of analysis, and concepts like swing voter, moderate voter, male voter, female voter. None of that stuff is what Donald Trump's team focused on. 3 weeks ago or so, we covered the 3-point strategy that Laura Trump, his daughter-in-law, used. It worked. So his team had another angle. Whereas Kamala Harris had a particular focus where she ran a political campaign. She was running it. She ran. It's over. Largely targeting Americans on the basis of immutable characteristics. Jones suggested that Trump alternatively ran a masculinist. He focused on men. Yeah, men, the ones I love. Masculine cultural movement. He didn't forget about the women because the women came over. Even Democrat women came over. They crossed the aisle. But he focused on a cultural movement, drawing numerous subcultures, including UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I never will forget when he was at that fight, in that championship fight, that man, he came over, gave the belt to Trump, and it was amazing, that interaction Trump had with him. I love how they were shaking hands, and when Trump changed the position of his hand, and they were just man to man. I loved it. He focused on the culture of the health and wellness people. That's a culture. He focused on the crypto folks. Cryptocurrency. Oh, yeah. That's a culture. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of them are going to be multimillionaires. I just believe, I know it, I'm going to keep saying it, that there's going to be a transfer of wealth. He was engaging these people, talking to them, and taking them seriously. Trump has something for a lot of different people, different cultures. He reached out to Black Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans. I remember when it was a Jewish group that was coming to him. I remember a Muslim group coming to him. He relates to people, and people relate to him. Van Jones indicated that Democrats made matters worse for themselves by thinking in terms of left and right, by failing to understand that Trump was, in some cases, playing a vertical game, appealing across party lines to low trust groups as opposed to those still trusting in liberal institutions. According to Jones, this is what he said. He said, we look like idiots. We woke up in a body bag the day after the election, and we didn't even know it. He said on election day, we were in a body bag. We thought that because CNN, NPR, New York Times, all of those mainstream medias was pretty much beating the hell out of Donald Trump, that Donald Trump was getting the hell beat out of him. That's what he said. But he said, listen, the mainstream media is actually now, by the numbers, on the fringe. Van Jones pointed out something, it is the truth, that alternative media has far and away eclipsed legacy media, such that it's not unheard of for CNN and Fox News to grossly underperform a Twitch streamer you've never heard of. He said, we got beat on platforms we've never even heard of. The problem you're going to have now is when Joe Rogan sits down with Donald Trump, there were 48 million people that watched that on YouTube. Yeah, the YouTube. I love it. Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel. I'm learning how to grow it. I'm going to learn how to grow it. I got to learn that. But, this podcast is over there. He said, we didn't have that many people watching the debate on CNN. So, guys, get out of my face. That's what Jones said. Get out of my face. We had the wrong analysis. He said, we didn't even have the conceptual framework to understand what's happening to us. We don't get it. We got beat by something that we don't even understand. I understand it. Millions of us understand. Oh, yeah. Wisdom is the principal thing, but wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. But in all that get understanding, we understand. Although Kamala Harris avoided interviews for much of her campaign, when she did field questions, when she took on questions, it was primarily on friendly mainstream media networks. She never learned how to be quick on her feet. She never got challenging questions. And I remember, I think it was the interview with Anderson Cooper. She said, Donald Trump said it 26 times. That was her response. Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. She talked more about Donald Trump than she did herself. True story. She only made 2. Listen to this, guys, out of all the podcasts that woman could have gone on, she only made 2 prominent podcast appearances and spiked another possible appearance, a possible appearance with Joe Rogan. The Joe Rogan Experience. She wouldn't go. So no one got to see her in her natural flow. Trump, on the other hand, appeared on numerous podcasts. His son Barron helped him to get that insight, crushing Harris's outreach by even conservative estimates. Jones said, we're playing a different game. How can Donald Trump, he said, how can Donald Trump? I would love to meet Van Jones. I would love to shake the man's hand. Love to tell him I respect him and honor him. We have very different philosophies, very different beliefs, probably spiritually, but I respect him. I honor him because he's intellectually honest. Let's start there. Van said, listen, guys, can we just cut it out and see all this foolishness going on? Trump taking my food stamps. Cut it out. He's not taking your food stamps. He's not taking anything to your personal benefits. Van Jones said, Trump is not an idiot. While establishmentarians lean hard into their characterization of Trump as Hitler, Stalin, those are even terms that Kamala used, Kamala Harris. Many have suggested that over the years that the Republican president was equipped with substandard mental faculties. The man's a genius. Trump was called all kind of names. Let me just be very clear, Jones said. Donald Trump is smarter than me, you, and all the other critics. And here's the as evidenced by. As evidenced by what? That's what Janice's clinical mind always says. As evidenced by what? And this is what Van said. You know how I know? Love it. He said, because he has the White House, the Senate, the House, the Supreme Court, the popular vote. He has a massive media system bigger than the mainstream built around him and for him, and a religious fervor in a political movement around him. And his best buddy is the richest person in the history of the world, and the most relevant Kennedy is with him. That's the observable and measurable evidence of how brilliant he is. Like him or leave him. This is fact, what I've said. Jones said, the dude's a phenomenon. He's the most powerful human on earth, and he's down to earth. I am blessed that I have had the opportunity to see someone like him in my lifetime. I don't worship the man. The man goes to sleep. He doesn't sleep much, I heard. He works. But he's got to get up and go to the bathroom every day just like I do. I honor and respect everything the man said. He said, y'all need to get over. He said, the more we talk, the more we look like idiots. That's what Van Jones said. He stressed that the liberal establishment's failure to understand Trump doesn't mean he's dumb. We don't understand it. That means we're dumb. That's what Van Jones said. As my 101-year-old mama says, I'm just telling you what they told me. That's what Van Jones said. That's what he told us. We got beat by something we don't even understand. I love it. Intellectual honesty. I respect that. He called out the Democratic Party on their pattern of lying. They lied over and over and over again. And finally, people figured it out. And they were like, I don't want to have anything else to do with them. That's why I used to be a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat with a black twist. And I left them when I saw how the lies that were being perpetrated. They lie about history. They lie about so much. And I was like, man, in my Christian walk, I can't even hook up with it anymore. They lie. So, you still with me? Look, I want to provoke thought, bring awareness, and us looking together towards intervention. And from our clinical perspective, we're going to examine this together. Why do people lie? People lie for many reasons, including to protect themselves. When I worked as a school psychologist, I ran into these little kids. They just lie. And I would ask them something, and I said, did you do that? They go, hey, yeah, no. The bottom line with those little kids, they were lying to cover up a perceived weakness. A perceived weakness. People lie for many reasons, including to protect themselves, to avoid judgment, or to impress others. Sometimes people lie for protection, to protect others. People lie to protect others from harm or discomfort. For example, someone might lie to prevent a friend from getting in trouble. When I can find out why a person is lying, particularly a child, I can get to the core of their soul in a heartbeat, in a drop of a hat. They lie to protect themselves. People may lie to avoid punishment, retaliation, or being judged, and you find out what's going on in the core of their soul. Their soul is their mind, their will, their emotions, their intellect, their drive, and their desires. And God can show you how to take that thing and just take it and turn it 1 degree, and they'll get on a right path, and they can become a great leader. Ask me how I know. Why do people lie? Avoidance. Avoid judgment. People may lie to avoid being shamed or criticized. Bottom line. Avoid disappointing others. People may lie to avoid disappointing themselves or other people. Sometimes people lie. They were lying on Donald Trump. Why? Did they lie because they wanted to impress others? People may lie to impress others or appear more favorable. For example, teenagers may lie to gain social acceptance. Here's some other reasons why people lie. We're just talking out loud because there's a lot of lying going on. Humor. People may lie to tell a joke or a prank. People may lie for personal gain, to benefit themselves. You know, there's a lot of lining of pockets in Washington to benefit themselves. Vindictiveness. People may lie intentionally to cause harm to others. Some people deal with compulsive lying. They lie just for no good reason. It's compulsive. It's a bad habit. They may avoid being judged or feel shame. That's why people lie, with the aim of avoiding punishment to protect themselves from retaliation. So, if people lie for all those reasons, is it possible to get free from lying? We have been lied to over and over and over again and gaslit as a nation at an entirely other level for 4 years under the Biden-Harris regime cabal. Freedom from lying. Let's look at that. Freedom from lying can be achieved by being honest and telling the truth. I remember when I went through this little phase of lying. When I was young and I was growing, you know, it was that adolescent thing going, and God was tugging on my heart. And one thing that I started doing, I said, hold on. I just need to correct that. What I just said was not right. And it was like God said, you need to own it for what it is. I said, I didn't tell the truth. I need to make it right. Now, here's what really happened. And the whole situation was just under arrest at that point. And I grabbed that thing and I held on to it and I told the truth. I don't lie. I don't lie. And oh God, when I see here ministers lying, and I'm like, you're lying. You're lying. And I read that John 8:44, Jesus says Satan is the father of lies and the truth has never been in him. So if that's what he said in his word, if the enemy is talking to me, he's lying. That is spiritual warfare. He's talking, he's lying. And I'll tell him, shut up in Jesus' name. Yes, I will. And it works for me. You got to decide what works for you, but it becomes spiritual warfare because he'll lie to you about yourself. Freedom from lying can be achieved by being honest and telling the truth. We're going to look at some tips on how to break a lying habit. Let's look at that. Sometimes there are triggers. Identify the triggers. What would happen if we identify triggers? Recognize what situations make you most likely to lie. What would happen if we start small? Focus on changing one behavior at a time, just one at a time. What would happen if we set boundaries, know what is acceptable and what is not? What would happen if we incorporate in our thinking being kind, being tactful, and considerate of others? What would happen to us as a nation if we find alternatives, think of other ways to handle a situation and talk it out and say, listen, I do this all the time with people that I love. People that know me, I say, listen, I need to hear what I'm thinking. What is it, Janice? And I sit there and go through it and I get all kind of revelations. We get it together and God starts speaking to me and it's powerful things that happen. Oh yeah. What would happen if we learn to accept that we may make mistakes? We make mistakes. I made a mistake and say it. And that it's okay to ask for forgiveness. Forgive me. I'm sorry I missed it. I take full responsibility for that. It takes the wind out of the enemy trying to wear us out. What would happen if we write it down, keep a record of your progress? What would happen if we're very, we become cognizant of what we share, being selective about what we share with others? What would happen if we change the subject? If we're tempted to lie, try changing the topic of conversation. Wait, hold on, Lord. Let's just talk about something else. Yes. I love this stuff. This is the renewing of the mind. This is the renewing of the mind. that the Apostle Paul talks about we need to do. Be ye transformed and change. How? By the renewing of the mind. In Christianity, lying's really considered a sin because it goes against one of the commandments, but we're under a new law. But it does say one of the 10 commandments, it says, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. Listen, we all miss it. We miss it. We do. But you know what? I've lived long enough to learn that when I miss it, the quicker that I take responsibility and ask for forgiveness, the more powerful I am, the more mature I become, the more resolve that I have, the more strategic and effective that I am. Oh, yeah. I don't mind using myself as an example. I'm very transparent, particularly if it helps to provoke thought, bring awareness, and us together looking at intervention. What have we looked at tonight? The power of being intellectually honest and from a clinical perspective, freedom from lying. What would happen if we do this as a nation? Listen, I love this nation. I love children. I love youth. I love everybody. This is why I keep coming on this podcast. I am so grateful for your support. You know, I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I think it's okay for me to just thank you for your support in 2024. This podcast grew 1,200%. I was blown away when I saw those numbers. Wow, God, thank you, Father. And thank you, listening audience, those on these podcast platforms. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for listening. I'm so absolutely grateful for your support. Listen, we're one nation. Yes, we are. We are forming a more perfect union, which means we're flowing together as one. We're one nation under God. The enemy has tried to divide us, but he's a father of lies, and the truth has never been in him. So if he's talking to us, he's lying. He's trying to divide us, but I say we unite as one. We're proud to be Americans. We support each other. When we support each other in being truthful and forgive one another and love one another and have mercy on one another. Oh yeah, that's us. That's America. We're one nation under God, indivisible. You're not going to divide me from those that I love. Sometimes we have to set boundaries with those that we love. Sometimes it's a healthy thing. But listen, we are going somewhere. It's expecting us when we get there. We prayed for the results of the election that we got in 2024. I appreciate people like Van Jones that laid out the truth of why we have a GOP trifecta now. We're running every branch. Yes, a conservative slant is in the House now. And so we need to pray for our nation and pray that the eyes of all of our citizens, the eyes of our understanding are being enlightened, that we know the hope of God's calling for every area of our lives, and we get on track for our children, our posterity. They need us to get it right instead of being divided around sexuality and all that kind of stuff. That's over. We're not focused on that anymore. We want to build them up academically, build them up spiritually, set them up for success. That's where we're going. We're going somewhere. It's expecting us when we get there. Come and go with me. There are millions of us going together. Listen, thank you for coming. Keep coming back. I will see you next week. I love you. I appreciate you. God bless you. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.